Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're soaring into the story of Museum 303 in Napoleon, Poland.
Ah, yes, a fascinating place.
It really is. This isn't just, your average collection. It's a dedicated space preserving the powerful history of Polish aviation.
With a real focus, I gather, on the legendary Squadron 303.
Exactly. And their absolutely vital role in World War II, particularly the Battle of Britain.
Hmm.
We've gathered some fascinating material here. We've got insights from the museum itself, a first-hand account from a YouTube visit.
Oh, interesting. A visitor's perspective.
Yeah, and the detailed history from Wikipedia. So our mission really is to understand what makes this museum so special.
And the incredible history it represents.
Okay, let's get into this.
Well, it's quite striking how this museum, situated there in Napoleon near Częstochowa, has carved out such a specific, significant purpose.
Right.
Its commitment to Polish aviation history, tracing it right from the beginnings up to today.
Hmm.
That suggests a pretty comprehensive approach. But it's that strong emphasis on World War II and the Battle of Britain that really grabs you, doesn't it? Especially with the story of Squadron 303.
Absolutely. And everything suggests that walking through its doors is like, well, stepping right into history. We're talking hundreds of exhibits.
Hundreds. Wow.
Yeah. The core collection has uniforms, decorations, banners, loads of equipment, important documents, photos, and even personal items, things that belong to these incredibly brave Polish pilots.
That personal touch makes such a
It
difference.
does. And get this, they have a separate exhibition with elements from the Squadron 303 film set, like a model of their air barracks.
Oh, that's clever. Really immersive.
It sounds it.
And that YouTube video you mentioned, it sounds like it offers a really valuable personal take.
It really does. The visitor mentioned arriving late, but the staff were apparently super welcoming.
That says a lot about the people involved.
Totally. He called it one of the best museums he'd ever been to, and you could just feel the passion, he said, in how the collection was put together.
That's high praise indeed. Passion really shined through in places like that.
It certainly is, and it's important to note, the museum's scope isn't just Squadron 303, even though they're the namesake.
Ah, so it's broader.
Yeah, the collection gives you a wider look at Polish aviation history, pre-war stuff, the Polish Army in the West. You get a more complete picture.
That makes sense. Context is key.
Exactly. The video even shows glimpses of some really evocative things, like Zumbach's cigarette case.
Wow. Jan Zumbach.
And 3 actual WWII Squadron 303 badges. The real deal.
Incredible artifacts. And the layout. How's it organized?
It sounds really well thought out. Organized into themed chambers covering different eras. They even include things related to the Luftwaffe, apparently.
Interesting to see that perspective included, too. It gives a fuller picture of the conflict.
And the presentation sounds top-notch. The visitor described it as very coherent, beautifully displayed.
Suggests real care, doesn't it? And maybe, as they noted, some significant funding behind it all.
Which often helps create that really engaging experience for visitors.
Definitely. And you mentioned something about the entrance being unique.
Oh, yeah. You actually enter the main building via vintage airport mobile stairs.
No way. That's fantastic. Sets the scene immediately.
Doesn't it? And inside, there's more a cinematic hall where they show a documentary about Jan Zumbach.
Right.
The recreated rooms from that Decision 303 movie, showing you how the pilots might have lived.
Gives you that tangible sense of their daily lives.
Exactly. Plus, a modern aviation pub. Probably a good spot to, process everything you've seen.
Absolutely. A place to debrief.
It adds to the whole atmosphere. And it's not just indoors, is it? There are outdoor exhibits, too.
Right, those MiGs, the Iskra jet, the helicopter.
Yeah, 3 MiGs, an Iskra, and a Mi-2 helicopter. Okay, maybe not Battle of Britain era.
Not quite, no.
Yeah.
But still part of the wider aviation story, and they definitely add to the visual impact.
For sure. But the real star outside seems to be the Gate Guardian.
The Hurricane model.
Yes. A full-scale, incredibly detailed model of a Hawker Hurricane right out front.
And that's significant because...
Well, it's highlighted as the only 1.1 Hurricane model in Poland. Apparently, they have historic Spitfires, even Bf-109s, but no actual surviving Hurricanes.
Oh, that is significant, especially considering the Hurricane's role.
Exactly. It was the RAF workhorse, wasn't it? And crucially, the first type of plane flown by Polish pilots when they got to England.
So having it stand guard there, it's deeply symbolic.
A really powerful symbol connects you immediately to the core story, Squadron 303.
Which brings us neatly to their incredible history.
Let's dive into that.
Okay, so AI-3. 303 Kosciuszko, Squadron RAF. Just saying the name evokes so much bravery and skill.
It really does. And remember, they were one of only 2 Polish squadrons fighting in the Battle of Britain itself.
That's right, along with 302, out of 16 Polish squadrons overall during the war.
But their impact in the Battle of Britain, it's just staggering.
It truly is. Flying those Hawker Hurricanes.
Yeah.
They're credited with the highest number of enemy aircraft shot down out of all 66 Allied fighter squadrons involved.
The highest. That's incredible.
And what's even more remarkable, they only joined the fight 2 whole months after it had already started.
Wow. Talk about hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
Or, well, hitting the air flying.
Precisely. Formed in July 1940 in Blackpool, deployed to RAF Northolt on August 2nd.
And the Kosciuszko nickname.
A direct link to the famous 18th century Polish general Tadeusz Kosciuszko. It connected them back to the original 1919 Kosciuszko Escadrille.
Ah, that historical lineage.
Exactly. And the squadron kept flying right through until December 1946, a long period of service.
And their contribution wasn't just, noticed by fellow pilots. It went right to the top.
You're talking about Dowding.
Air Chief Marshal Sir Hugh Dowding, head of RAF Fighter Command. He was quite explicit, wasn't he?
He was. He basically said he doubted the Battle of Britain's outcome would be the same without the Polish squadrons. He called their contribution magnificent material and their gallantry unsurpassed.
That's about the highest praise imaginable from the man in charge.
It absolutely is. Now, initially, things weren't completely smooth. Language barriers, different procedures.
Right, so RAF officers initially led them.
Yeah, the CO and flight commanders were RAF officers alongside the Polish pilots to help integrate them. They officially became operational on August 31st, 1940.
But they didn't wait until then to score, did they?
No, they didn't. The day before, August 30th, during a training flight, of all things.
A training flight?
Yes. FO Ludwig Paskevich spotted a German plane and just went for it. Shot down a Messerschmitt Buff 110, their very first victory.
Before they were even officially operational. Amazing. And I read the wreckage was later excavated.
It was. Makes it very real, doesn't it?
Definitely. So during the main Battle of Britain period, August to October 1940, what were their numbers like?
Astonishing. They claimed 126 German aircraft shot down.
126 in just a couple of months.
Yes. It really highlights just how effective they were during that absolutely critical time.
And this success, it wasn't just luck, right? It was a combination of things.
Definitely. You had the Polish pilots, many already veterans with combat experience from Poland and France.
Right. Battle-hardened.
Then you had the Hawker Hurricane itself, a very capable aircraft, sturdy, well-armed.
The workhorse.
And finally, they were slotted into the existing, well-organized RAF infrastructure. Command, control, ground crews. It all worked together.
Makes sense. A perfect storm of skill, machine, and system.
Exactly. And some of the individual stories, they just showcase their incredible spirit.
Like the one about Fleck Karubin.
Oh, Stanislaw Karubin. Yes. An amazing story. Chasing a German fighter, runs completely out of ammunition.
So what does he do? Break off.
Not Karubin. He flies his Hurricane right above the German plane, practically scraping it.
Seriously?
The German pilot was apparently so shocked, so completely unnerved by this incredibly aggressive move, he lost control and crashed his plane trying to get away.
Wow. That's just sheer audacity. Intimidation as a weapon.
It's the kind of story that becomes legend. So by October 11th, 1940, when they were finally pulled back for arrest,
they'd claimed those 126 kills in just 6 weeks of active fighting.
6 weeks. And their own losses, while tragic for every pilot lost, were relatively low in comparison.
What were the figures again?
18 Hurricanes lost, 7 pilots killed in action, and 5 badly wounded.
So, comparing kills to losses.
They had the best kill-to-loss ratio among all the Hurricane squadrons, but 2.8 kills for every loss.
Very impressive. Though there's some debate about the exact number of confirmed kills, isn't there?
There is, yes. It's important to acknowledge that. While 126 claims were submitted during the battle, some Polish historians, looking at records from all sides, suggest the number of verified victories might be closer to, say, 55 or 60.
Okay, so a lower number, but...
But even that lower verified number likely still puts them right at the top, possibly the highest scoring Allied squadron during the Battle of Britain.
Right. It just highlights how chaotic air combat was and how difficult confirming kills could be, but even 60 victories in that short time is phenomenal.
Absolutely. And their story didn't end when the Battle of Britain officially concluded.
No, they stayed right in the fight.
Very much so. In 1941, they were flying offensive sweeps over Europe, These rhubarb sorties, low-level attacks.
And they transition aircraft, too.
Yes, they moved on to Spitfires. They also formed the #1 Polish fighter wing with number 306 Squadron.
Right, taking the fight to the enemy. Did they face new challenges then?
Oh, definitely. The outline mentions encounters with the Focke-Wulf 190.
Ah, formidable opponent for the Spitfire V.
Very much so. And they were heavily involved in things like the Dieppe raid in August 42 Operation Jubilee.
How did they do there?
Remarkably well again. Claimed the highest number of enemy aircraft shot down among Allied squadrons during that specific operation.
They just kept racking up the score. But these later operations must have come at a cost, too.
They did. The war ground on, and the squadron inevitably suffered further losses. It underscores the constant danger they faced day in, day out.
So, later in the war, still flying Spitfires? Or did they change again?
They flew various Spitfire marks and then eventually transitioned to the Mustang IV later on.
Mustangs. Great aircraft for long-range escort.
Exactly. They flew escort missions for bomber formations and also got involved in ground attacks, targeting V-1 flying bomb and V-2 rocket launch sites. Their role adapted.
So, throughout the war, undeniably effective. The most successful Polish RAF squadron, right?
Without a doubt. But their post-war story,
Mm-hmm.
it has a sort of bittersweet, complex ending, doesn't it?
Yeah, that part about the 1946 London Victory Parade.
Right. There are conflicting accounts. Some say they were invited but declined because other Polish units weren't included.
While other sources suggest they perhaps weren't formally invited at all.
Regardless of the exact details, it reflects the really difficult political situation for Poland after the war. These men had fought so bravely for Allied victory, but their homeland was now under a very different regime.
A tough reality. And the squadron itself was disbanded soon after.
Yes, in December 1946.
But their legacy, their contribution, that certainly wasn't forgotten.
Not at all. You have the Polish War Memorial in West London at Northolt, honoring all the Polish aircrew who served with the RAF.
A really important monument.
And the spirit of 303 lives on in surprising ways. Like that group of Polish internet activists in 2022 calling themselves Squad 303.
Using the name to send anti-war messages to Russia. Wow.
Shows how potent that legacy remains, even today.
It really does. And their story has been told many times, hasn't it? In books, films.
Oh, definitely. Arkady Fiedler's book, Squadron 303, is probably the most famous. It was huge during the war itself.
Required reading for many, I imagine.
And then documentaries, films like Hurricane or 303 Squadron.
Mm-hmm.
Even, you mentioned a Sabaton song.
Yeah, Aces in Exile, which honors foreign pilots in the RAF, including the Poles. It keeps the story alive in popular culture.
Which is so important. And that brings us right back to Museum 303 itself.
Yes. It feels like the physical embodiment of all this history and remembrance.
Absolutely. And those personal accounts from the YouTube video, they really hit home.
They do. Hearing about volunteers spending years setting up exhibits, cataloging.
Or the person whose student internship turned into this deep passion for aviation history and the museum.
Yeah, and the founder's story, a former commando feeling a kinship with the pilots, the shared experience of facing danger.
It underlines that this isn't just a collection of objects. It's built on deep personal connection, passion, and a real drive to honor these heroes.
So reflecting on all of this, what really stands out for you?
For me, it's the sheer impact they had in such a short time during the Battle of Britain. To arrive late, integrate quickly, and then outperform everyone. It speaks volumes about their skill, their determination, maybe even their desperation, fighting for a free Poland from afar. And the museum seems to capture that spirit.
I think for me, it's that blend of the heroic scale, highest scoring squadron with the very personal details the museum preserves. Zoombox cigarette case, you know. It connects the legend to the real human beings and the dedication of the people keeping that memory alive today. That's powerful.
Totally agree. It's not just statistics and aircraft. It's the human stories.
Yeah.
The initial struggles, the incredible achievements, the camaraderie, and sadly, the sacrifices. Museum, the books, the films, they all preserve that human dimension.
Absolutely. So for you listening, if you have any interest in aviation history, World War II, or just incredible stories of human bravery against the odds.
Museum 303 in Napoleon, Poland sounds like it offers a really profound experience.
Their commitment to preserving these artifacts, sharing these stories, it ensures this vital legacy won't be forgotten.
Which leads us to a final thought for you. What part of this story, the museum, the pilots, the history, resonates most strongly with you?
Yeah, maybe think about that. We definitely encourage you to look deeper into NUN 303 Squadron and maybe find Fiedler's book or watch one of those documentaries.
Perhaps you're curious now about the Hurricane, or want to understand the Battle of Britain in more detail. There's so much more to explore this rich, important history. What will you discover next?